Do you want to know how to transform this image into this? Stay tuned, I will tell you everything about it. Welcome to my channel. Here we talk about photography, and I also make videos just like this one where I share my editing workflow. So if you're here for the first time, it might be a good idea to subscribe. I get this question a lot. How do you edit your photos? To be honest with you, I don't think that I have an answer that will work with every single image. Meaning that every photo is different, every photo will need different adjustments. So I will be making a series of videos, and this is the first one, where I will take you with me while I edit different kind of landscape photography images. You will learn about my Lightroom editing workflow, and possibly you will be able to apply similar techniques to your own images. Before I start editing though, I also would like to answer another kind of question that I receive a lot, which is, do you edit every single photo you take? Yes, I do. Sometimes more, sometimes less. But because I shoot in RAW, which is great, every single image needs some adjustments. A RAW file is going to take advantage of all the capabilities of your camera. If you don't edit a RAW file, the image is very flat. At the same time, I always try to get the best file possible in camera while I'm shooting on the field, as I don't want to spend hours editing one single image. But editing is a very creative process, like the darkroom used to be. It's actually a digital darkroom. So I strongly recommend you to shoot your images in RAW and start practicing your editing skills. But enough of that. Let's start editing. So this is the image we are going to work today. It's a beautiful waterfall in Iceland. The name of this waterfall is 𝗟𝗔𝗪𝗧. It is a little bit of a pain to get there because you need to drive for an hour, 15 minutes on a dirt road. At the same time, most of the people don't go there. So when you are there, possibly you will have this place all for yourself, and that will happen to me. You saw the images from the drone. It's really a nice location. Anyways, I took several pictures of this waterfall with different exposures, but I thought that actually a shorter long exposure, this is a 0.8 seconds, would create more drama in the water. And so I was trying to match the dramatic sky with the dramatic water. And also I wanted to show the power of this waterfall. And to use an aperture of f8 and a shutter speed of 0.8 seconds, of course I had to use a neutral density filter. I use a 6 stops ND filter. I also use a graduated ND filter, 3 stops graduated ND filters on top in order to darken the sky a little bit. But as you can see, there is a blue cast in the image. So the very first thing that I need to do is to fix the white balance. And to do so, I will use this target. And I can see in the preview, in the upper left corner, the color difference once I select a neutral target. And as you can see, immediately with one touch, my color temperature, my light temperature went to 8100, and in this way the image is of course a lot less blue than before. This is the first thing I do because I want to be able to see the image with the real colors in order to make proper adjustments. The second thing I will do is to open the lens corrections and make sure that both the chromatic aberration and the profile corrections of my lenses are enabled. Usually I do this when I import my images, so it's an automatic process. I just always want to make sure that this is set. As you possibly know, I have a Nikon D810 and it's a full frame, and the sensor has a ratio of 3:2, so my images are all 3:2. But I can change this if I feel that the image actually will look better in a different format. And that's what I think. I actually think that this might look better in a 16:9, and I will try to do so. Selecting 16:9, and in this way, as you can see, I have this grid that will help me to make sure that the composition works well for me. And I think that what I like with this ratio is that I have basically 1/3 dedicated to the water, 1/3 dedicated to the land, and 1/3 dedicated to the sky, which I find very pleasing. So I will stay with it. And now in my workflow, I will basically follow the Lightroom panels one by one and create adjustments to the whole picture first, and then eventually doing some selective local adjustments with other tools that I will show you in a second. So we took care of the white balance, and now I will start decreasing the highlights a little bit. I will increase the shadows to open up, especially the lower part of the image. Then if I click Shift and double click on whites, I will actually bring my histogram all the way to the right. Doing the same thing with the blacks, Shift and double click, I will bring my black to 0. And I can see that I have a little overexposure here where I see the reds, and some little underexposure here where I see the blues. I'm not too worried for now because there will be more adjustments coming in, but this will help me to understand where I am with the exposure of my image. I will add a little bit of clarity, not much for now, a little bit of dehaze. This is really a +4, it's nothing. I will increase instead my vibrance and just a little bit of saturation, maybe even less, +9. Now we'll open the tone curve. I often like a medium contrast, but I already worked on shadows and highlights and blacks and whites, so I already have a pretty contrasty image, but let's see how it looks with a medium contrast. And as you can see, it's almost too dark in the bottom, so I might go back to the linear. I think I have more details, and eventually I will apply some selective adjustments in the areas where I think I might want to have some more contrast. Let's open the Hue, Saturation and Luminance panel. Basically here we work with colors, and with the luminance I can decide that specific colors will become either darker or brighter. So if I want to have a darker sky, with the target I can see which color I should work with, and you can see that is the blue, and I will basically decrease the luminance of that specific color in order to apply a selective adjustment in that specific color. I might want to increase the saturation of this orange and yellow, and I can do this right here. These are the two colors that will be affected. And maybe also I see there is a green in the very bottom. And I'm not going to touch the hue. Let's open the split toning. This image is not taken at sunset. I think it's like around 8 p.m. in Iceland, but the sunset at that time of the year, which is June, was happening around 11:30. But if I want to add a little more golden hour colors in the split toning, I can do that. And basically, let me increase the saturation of the highlights and decide which color will possibly work better. And I will do the same thing for the shadows. And the shadows, actually, I like to work with the blues. And as you can see, the bottom part of my image is getting this bluish tone. I will decrease a little bit, and then I can balance, and I can decide if I want a cooler picture or a warmer picture. And maybe I will stay almost in the middle, but actually will be a little more towards the warmer highlights. And now I will open the details. In the details, I will work with the sharpening. Lightroom automatically select a +25 sharpening, but I like to decrease the radius of the sharpening and maybe increase a little bit the details. And then I can actually zoom in a little bit and see what really happens when I increase the sharpening. I'm not going to touch the luminance. We saw that the lens correction is already taken care of. Not going to touch the transfer panel, and for now I'm not adding any vignette yet. Now I already can see that with these adjustments we have a very different picture. This looks a lot more like the scene that I saw when I was there. At the same time, I like to do something else. So let's start to work selectively on the sky. To do that, I will use this graduated filter, and if you hold Shift and you drag it down from the top, you see that the filter will be applied in a parallel fashion. Sometimes the panel has already memorized the adjustments that you used before for something. You can just double click on Effect and all the parameters will be taken back to 0. So what I want to do with this sky, first of all, I see too much blue. Use the temperature slider to take care of that. At the same time, now that I have less blue, I also have a brighter sky. Instead, I want to have a very dramatic sky. So I will decrease the highlights. I will increase a little bit the contrast. I will increase the dehaze. And look how more dramatic the sky is becoming already. And increase the clarity a little bit. Maybe I will decrease a little bit the saturation. I think that now the clouds are much more defined and I can see more drama. Something else I like to do is to increase the details and the colors of the land. This is still very dull and I want to give it a little punch. This time I will actually use a brush. I will make sure that all the previous parameters are reset, and what I will do, I want to increase the shadows, increase the clarity, increase the saturation, and a little bit of sharpness. And let's start to paint in the areas that I think will benefit from these kind of adjustments. And Lightroom is very smart if you select Auto Mask in understanding where the adjustments need to be done and where not. Now I'm very quick, usually I pay a little more attention, but as you can see, it's doing a very good job. All right. And I can also add maybe a little bit of color, but that is a little too much. So if I do this, I want to bring down the blacks and increase the contrast. Let's see. Quite a difference, isn't it? My last adjustment is for the water. I want to add a little more contrast and also make this water a little more blue. Again, I will use the brush tool, reset all the parameters, decrease the color temperature. I will increase the contrast and the clarity, and I will start to paint the water. Let me see if I add a little bit of blue color, what is going to happen. Also want to increase the contrast. Now, let's check if there are areas of the image that are still underexposed or overexposed. And as you can see, I have something clipping in the shadows. But the areas where the shadows are clipping are not really bothering me, because they are not areas that you can actually really see any details anyway. So I am not going to do anything else to this image. I will only add a vignette, which I will do through the effects panel. As you can see, it's not a big, I'm not gonna do anything crazy like this. I'm just going for something very subtle. I think this can work. As you can see, it's quite a dramatic difference. Here's the before, here's the after. If you click on the Y, you can see side by side. What do you think? Is it too dramatic? Possibly. But I wanted to show you the potential of Lightroom, and also this goes by taste. This is all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that you learned something new. Next time we will work on a very different kind of image. But for now, leave me a like or a comment if you enjoy this kind of content. Thanks for watching. I will see you in the next video.